the left only wants to endlessly critique power. I mean, critiquing power is okay. It's okay to critique power. Contrapoints being unwilling to critique the Democrats in any meaningful way for 3 hours. I mean, I'm definitely willing to criticize the Democrats for not having good stances on Ukraine, but then again, some will say that it's a strategy to squeeze out leftists out of politics. So, hello, Polyponica. Sometimes the biggest leftists don't want you to criticize the Democrats for some reason when it comes to certain topics in this war zone.
Is there something else that I'm missing here that's your critique of the left?
My frustration with the left is more that when it comes time to actually elect, the energy is so oppositional.
Let's talk about leverage.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I have more leverage against Kamala Harris before she's elected or once she's president for 4 years?
Before she's elected, yes. You use your leverage before she's elected and you tell her do this, that, or the other to win our vote. Obviously, politicians are most malleable when they are running for election, re-election, what have you. Which is why the whole Track Ukraine does that, right? To help people to have a good stance on Ukraine, because then people that like Ukraine will vote for them. That's the basic idea. Brianna Joy Gray used to work on Bernie's campaign and afterwards advocates for progressives to join a third party instead of the Democrats.
Protest voters are sort of unwinnable, are sort of like never happy, right? Whereas there are like centrist median voters that are more winnable.
And how has that been panning out?
If the Democrats pivot to the far left, that there's this like available
the far left
base. Well, by Democratic
not
Party
supporting a genocide as far left.
By Democratic Party.
No, Track Ukraine is good. Oh, have you been checking out Track Ukraine, Maya Mayor? Also, no, the Democratic Party has definitely not been pivoting to the far left, I don't think. That's just silly. I feel like it is a good strategy to try to pressure candidates to do good things. You should check out Track Ukraine.
Standards.
Well, isn't that quite the admission?
Okay, I mean, so I joke about like how we go for state party standards.
Well,
I mean,
isn't that
by Democratic
not supporting
Party
a genocide as far left?
By Democratic Party standards.
Well, isn't that quite the admission?
By Democratic Party standards, being anti-genocide is far left? That is a strange thing to say. I think I think Contrapoints is just not super used to talking live about things.
Okay, I mean, so I joke about like how we...
Yeah, trackukraine.com. You should check. And you should get to the Track Ukraine Instagram. You have posters here of people that have been rated. Thomas Massey stands against free Ukraine. Vote against aid, vote against sanctions, vote against condemning trafficking of children. That, for me, is a very damning thing. If you're a politician that does not condemn, but actually votes against condemning of kidnapping Ukrainian children, that's not a good politician. Voting against seizing it. That's a Republican, of course. Pretty sure that guy is a Republican. Yeah, you know him. Polyphonica says, I feel like Contrapoints is driven by personal grievances against leftists. He hasn't left the whole cancelled incident from 2020. That's a long time ago. That's like 6 years ago, 2020. But yeah, look at this. Mike Thompson is good on Ukraine. Voted for aid. Voted for sanctions. Condemned trafficking of children. And calls out U.S. abandonment. So Mike Thompson is better than Thomas Massey. But yes, you have a whole bunch of people that have been rated by the org. So go to the TikToks, go to the Instagrams and observe Track Ukraine. It's worth. Alright, let's continue this for a bit. Also, I'm not sure, I think the air siren is over. I think the danger has passed.
For Satan to stop Donald Trump, there probably is a line. I've yet not found it yet of like what like moral depth to which I would stoop to stop Donald Trump.
So what does that mean?
Yeah.
So I'm here with Natalie Wynn, aka Contrapoints, who is one of the biggest and most prolific and I think most efficacious video essayists on the left in BreadTube. I don't know if you embrace that term, but it's really nice to be. You condemn the term BreadTube. Why is that?
Well,
Oh, 30 drones approaching Kiev.
I had never thought it made any sense. Like, I mean, the phrase bread tube is a reference to the conquest of bread, an anarchist book. I'm not an anarchist. I don't know
Hmm.
why this like framing has been imposed on, but you know, it is what it is. You don't get to choose these things.
How do you identify politically?
I identify as like a left liberal at this stage.
Oh no, we're still on the alert. FB graph says try to put in effort to look like a. Oh, sorry. I'm not doing my best makeups while I'm in a war zone. Apologies, as always. Sorry, not trying hard enough while I listen out for missiles and drones. I should do better, you're right. Yeah, that's gonna be my priority when I'm in here, definitely. You can skip to 20 minutes, they don't start disagreeing until then. Oh, okay.
Aggressively that he couldn't win. And you have, CNN hosts saying that there's going to be beheadings in Central Park because of the coming socialist raids. Like, well, of course, what else could the voting public possibly believe? They were never once told about how every single poll showed that Bernie was the most
War makeup is great. Yeah, I should get my priorities straight, right? The hell.
electable candidate.
So I guess my concern with this is just that like to put so much blame on the media. I mean, like sure, like you can always blame the media. Like I blame the media for a lot of things. I blame the media for a lot of Donald Trump's success because they kind of have
Sure.
inadvertently, but it's like the media is what it is, and like I think that this needs to be. I guess I feel like there's a kind of like defeatism contained in this kind of idea of it all being rigged, where it's like a progressive candidate to win in the Democratic Party. I think it is possible, right? But I feel that it is like this kind of I see this I guess defeatist to suggest that it's all hopelessly rigged.
Well, I don't think it's defeatist. I don't think
Yeah.
it's hopelessly. Well, what is the it? What is the it exactly? And
Well,
what do we mean by progressive candidate?
the primary, let's say.
Okay. So if you were to ask me, I would say that my attitude is the opposite of defeatist. But it is. I think I'm being pragmatic. I worked for Bernie, obviously, in 2020. I believed enough in the possibility of winning as a progressive within the Democratic Party to, take a pretty significant pay cut and go be a national press secretary and give my life to this. But then I learned the lesson from that, which is that my fundamental belief is that if you are genuinely progressive, meaning that you take a aggressive stance against the interest groups that are at the root of making life bad for working class Americans, meaning the banking industry, the energy sector, calling out corporate PACs, foreign influence PACs like APAC and all of the rest, the health insurance lobby, obviously. Because you advance populist policies that are counter to those interests, right? Like universal health care, ending wars, the Green New Deal, etc.
Ending wars. I wonder where this person stands when it comes to supporting Ukraine. I kind of get nervous when people say ending wars, not gonna lie. Can mean many different things depending on who says them, and there's a history.
That because
Brianna was not great, to be honest. No, Brianna was definitely not great.
those interests are so embedded in the Democratic Party as a corporate party, they
Not
will
the
stop at
best.
nothing to stop you. I think that is very difficult to argue with. Is it possible that one might be successful despite those efforts? I think it's possible. But I think that it's frankly so unlikely that we have to, as the left, heighten the contradictions, make that really clear to the voting public, and encourage the public to focus their energy on other strategies to affect change.
Okay.
Okay,
do you make of
I think this is where this is where the real disagreement begins.
Okay.
Sure, let's get into
okay.
it.
Right. Like I think
Finally.
because I think that I guess what I sort of don't understand about your position is I don't understand what is like the theory of change here and on like what time frame do you imagine this happening? Because I guess the way I see it is that the consequences of Donald Trump winning have been so dire that it's like very difficult for me to take seriously the suggestion that like, well, it's a correct the idea that we should have diverted all energy away from Kamala Harris to focus on some kind of more revolutionary long-term change. It's like, well, isn't there some way that we can, like, I don't know, both elect a plausible center-left candidate and also have a longer-term, more progressive strategy, considering like stuff like, allowing Elon Musk to come in and destroy USAID, and which is probably killing hundreds of thousands of people,
Why would you be suspicious of these two? Of who?
and like the Supreme Court
They're good progressives.
that's overturned Roe v. Wade and is gutting voting rights, and all these like fairly difficult to reverse, like catastrophic consequences. Like that is like a fairly massive short and medium term sacrifice for a potential maybe long term benefit.
Well,
and
yeah, go ahead.
Maybe, yeah, maybe I guess I would maybe need to hear you explain what you think is the theory of long term change here that comes from voting third party, for example.
Well, I would say two things. One, that I and third party voters did not cause Trump to win the first time or the second time, right? There were more Trump voters, as you know. Okay. Two, I would say I'm not, while I might believe, frankly, somewhat pessimistically, that but for things getting worse and having a sort of an acceleration is spent, people are not going to wake up and make things better. I am not, in fact, an accelerationist because I wouldn't actively try to make things worse. And it wasn't me arguing that Donald Trump should win over Kamala Harris. My argument was that Kamala Harris is absolutely going to lose if she declines to move on Gaza. And we were right about that.
I mean, that kind of did pan out to be true. Apparently the Gaza thing was a pretty big sticking point.
That, right?
Do you think that Gaza is the issue that cost her the election?
I think it's been pretty proven out by the data. So what we have,
I mean, it's been not a small factor.
is a number of studies, including a study by IMEU, that polls Biden 2020 voters as to why they didn't vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, right? Like what makes up that deficit that made him win and her lose. And the number one issue is Gaza. The number one issue. Now, so it's not the majority, it's not above 50% of people, right? But of all of the issues listed at like,
But I
27%,
think it was not a small issue.
or whatever it was, 29%, it was close to 30%, was Gaza. So there were a lot of different things, right? The short primary, Biden's senility, the sense that they were, dishonest and hiding that from us as a public, the lack of a primary, all of these things. But when you saw how many voters, particularly in swing states like
Some say that the big factor was the fact that Biden was just allowed to run for so long and not just, you should have given her maybe the thing from the get-go. That's also an argument that is being made.
Michigan, were openly saying, we will vote for you. The uncommitted movement, remember, wasn't a we're not going to vote for you movement. It was a we're holding our votes hostage in exchange for this policy concession, which frankly would make you more.
I'm gonna call Dr. Jones now. I'm ready to start a voice call with my favorite viewer. It's time for stir fry. No. Also, hello, Mostly Software. Welcome to this ASMR stream because I have to be quiet tonight. Contrapoints move the goalposts anyway. Yeah. Hello. Okay.
Hi.
How are you this fine day? I hope the computer will not overheat when I connect the, what do you call it? You know what I call it? You know what it's called, right? The something capture card. Yes, capture card. Why didn't you remind me what it was called, Dr. Jones? Why are you being a bully again?
Because you're so quiet.
I am being considerate, okay? Therefore, Filippo says, from Kamala can't win without improving on Gaza to Gaza was the one thing that changed the election.
Has Brianna Joy Gray brought up forced to vote yet?
Sorry, what?
Has Brianna Joy Gray brought up forced to vote yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, I know it's taking a lot of effort
How can you be
on her part.
How can you be quiet while watching Brianna Joy Gray? I mean, I have to be quiet because I have to be considerate of the physical, real space that I'm in. Do you want to jump into Resident Evil or do you want to watch this with me for a bit?
I guess it depends if you want to get to Resident Evil tonight.
How much time do you have?
Probably maybe an hour or two.
An hour or two? Okay, we'll play Resident Evil tomorrow and we'll just react to the video now. An hour or two is not enough to get into Resident Evil.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm the Resident Evil 5 guy now, apparently.
What, who's ordering you to play Resident Evil 5?
Another friend of mine.
Oh gosh. Do you play as Sheva or as Chris?
I'm Sheva this time.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna share the thing with you, okay? Ready?
Like, because nobody supported at that stage. Very few people. The polls were already overwhelmingly.
Okay, Dr. Jones, what do you think were the main factors of Kamala Harris not winning the election?
She had like what 6 months to put together a campaign because they had to pry Joe Biden's like cold, almost dead hands from the Resolute desk,
That was
and then at the
definitely
same time too,
definitely
Gaza.
Right. They've mentioned Gaza being a factor.
Yeah, because as it turned out later that they were lying about trying to get a ceasefire.
Do you feel like there are any more factors that contributed to Kamala
Oh,
Harris's?
and then at the same time too, like Tim Walz was, making waves with people, and they immediately like locked him in a closet and paraded out Liz fucking Cheney.
What the fuck? Campaign was.
I don't know if anybody remembers that. Yeah, like Tim Walz was actually getting kind of the young man's vote just by being a relatable guy and be like, why the fuck are these people so weird?
God.
Yeah, and then like I said, he was starting to kind of get a little bit too popular, so then they locked him in the closet, and then they paraded out Liz Cheney so Kamala could be like, yeah, I'm gonna reach across the aisle and
Damn.
work with Republicans.
Oh,
and then,
no.
And then immediately all Kamala's hype died because the Democrats immediately went back to promising basically Joe Biden too.
That's not good. Well then, Wendell Saxon says either Biden or Harris would have lost no matter what. Also, I think I've seen you here for the first time. I'm feeling like I want to attack you with the regular questions. Is that a good idea, Dr. Jones?
Yeah,
Hello.
you gotta do your thing.
Hello, new viewer. Have you been here before? How have you found this stream, and what other streamers do you watch? I have a micro enough audience that I can ask people on an individual basis that. From the end of the pandemic until Trump's second inauguration, incumbents lost all around the world except for Mexico. But Harris made a bunch of mistakes. Okay, that's fair, I guess. I heard of you from TTBN. Wait, what is TTBN? What is TTBN? Dr. Jones, do you know TTBN?
I was gonna say, what the fuck is that too?
I have not heard of TTBN. I'm also
Is that
a gaming
the guy you
streamer.
went on is that the guy you went on to stream with that one time to do like the video game movie tier?
No, that's a different
bracket thing?
person. Wait, is TTBN an abbreviation? What's the long version? I don't believe Canal have one that hate the anti-woke outrage farmers. Gamings, can you link their what is their channel name? Let's look them up.
They can't leak it unless they're modded.
What's their channel name? TTBN? Is that their channel name? I've never heard of them.
TTBN Gaming, interesting.
And they've mentioned me? How do they know me?
Aspen Gold already off to.
They have 8,037 subscribers. I don't think I've ever heard of this person. Have I ever? That's interesting. And they've mentioned me on stream, have they?
Is that fucking Anita Sarkeesian?
Has Lucy turned into GLaDOS or something? Must be the new mic. I'm using an old microphone. I'm just being quiet because I'm not alone in this space and I don't want to wake anybody up. I'm being cautious of my environment tonight. Oh no, I'm not saying it's an insult. I'm just saying that there's a reason why I'm quiet tonight.
This is gonna start saying like I'm fat and I have no parents pretty soon.
What? It's interesting that the TBN gaming person
I'm
mentioned
the Wheatley to Lucy's Gladys.
What is a Gladys?
Portal?
It's a Portal character?
Yeah, she's like the main villain of the Portal series, Lucy. What
Yeah,
the fuck?
I've never played Portal. We haven't gotten
What
to
the
it yet.
fuck?
Don't be mad. Don't be angry. Okay, let's continue watching this for a bit.
Okay, we derailed this segment enough.
Yeah,
Poor fake Alec Parker's gonna have to figure out how to salvage this somehow in the editing.
it's okay. I'm gonna make timestamps for him. Okay, let's continue watching this.
In favor of
No,
ending
don't
support
do
for
Amtrak like that. Transform.
Sorry.
This is derailed like Amtrak. No, it's derailed like Norfolk Southern. We just Chernobyl, the small town in Ohio. In
But
this
yes.
household, Amtrak is a goddamn hero.
Netanyahu's government. And the choice was made by the Democratic Party, not people like me, to choose an alliance with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and its genocide over winning an election. And Donald Trump, who also obviously is a genocidal candidate, at least had the sort of savvy, political savvy, to try to blur the lines and lie to the public about being a quote unquote anti-war public. And if you ask a lot of voters,
Yeah, Donald Trump lied about not doing any new wars. And how did that pan out?
That's what
Anya.
you get for believing.
Yeah, I'll call you Anya. So you can get for believing Trump. Yeah, no new wars. Good luck. Fuck me. He was gonna end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours as well. How did that pan out?
will say, I know that Trump was lying.
Yeah.
We're what, week 5 of our, like, yeah, we're like what, a month or two into our 1 week special military operation in Iran.
Also, we're
From last
still in air siren mode in Ukraine. A high-rise building is on fire in Kyiv. Oh, okay. I didn't hear an explosion, but it seems like, yeah, Kyiv is being attacked by drones.
I was gonna say, what do you think is the worst way to die? Middle of playing Resident Evil 6 or reacting to Brianna Joy Gray?
I think I'd rather be playing Resident Evil 6 because at least then I would know that I die having fun with you. There you go. I would die practicing friendship, so I think I'd rather play Resident Evil 6. That's my answer.
Oh, you just steal my cold dead heart, Lucy.
Yeah.
To me. I know he wasn't anti-war, but at least it wasn't as in my face as someone like Kamala Harris saying we're going to have the most lethal army and we're not going to break from Benjamin Netanyahu and I'm not going to break from Biden and his policy.
I always thought that the comment we're gonna have the most lethal army is a bit silly because as opposed to what? A non-lethal army, right? Like the United States, when has the United States not had the most lethal army to begin with? Let's start with that. Like we're gonna have the most lethal army as if it was not that already, right?
Yeah.
In my face. I think it's silly.
So I guess I think that I sort of don't really see it as a very strong message that has been sent to the Democrats that they lost this election, considering that Donald Trump won, a candidate who is more unconditionally fanatical.
Their autopsy report then?
Sorry, can you repeat?
I was mentioning, like, this. Fuck.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, why don't the Democrats release their autopsy report if it wasn't on that? Like, you had the fucking Pod Save America, like the Pod Save bros talking to like the head of the DNC, be like, "What the fuck, man?" And they're like, those guys, this whole shtick is just imagine if Obama did all of this.
And his allegiance to Israel, right? And who is even more like, who has like gone further than the Democrats, who has like banned all funding for, you know, UN aid and relief to Palestinian refugees, and who was like threatening to.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just why people voted for Trump is an entirely different topic altogether. It's insane, but
deport people.
Well,
for
Biden
protesting.
did that.
Biden did what?
Biden cut UNRWA funding. That happened under Biden in like spring of 2024, right? Israel claimed, Israel claimed that there were 4 Hamas terrorists in UNRWA, and as a consequence, all UNRWA funding was cut, and that's when the humanitarian crisis really amplified, as opposed to the starvation, the what do you call it? Collective punishment really amplified, right? So I take your point.
That's a factual question. I'll have to look.
I'm pretty confident about that because I was having to report on this on a daily basis on Rising before. To be clear, I was fired because of that exact kind of reporting, right? Reporting on the facts of what was happening and America's lockstep and enabling of Israel's genocide. But the bigger point I would say is this. I can readily concede that there are many ways in which Trump is worse than Biden, obviously, and that Republicans generally are worse than Democrats. I think the question, people in my who share my politics have.
I'm still disappointed in America that they voted for Trump. I'm still not happy about that, Dr. Jones. What's happening? What's happening with America that Trump won the election?
I don't know. I think I remember somebody mentioned a long time ago that Americans are basically like unsupervised kindergarteners that need constant supervision. They're well intentioned, but they need desperately of supervision.
Oh my goodness. I still remember the election night. God damn. As it was unraveling, it was all going to shit bit by bit.
I know. I was there right there with you. Like, were we in the general chat or something? As I was telling you, like after Trump won, I'm like, you know, something after. I'm like, yeah, I was hanging out with Lucy in the giggle court because nobody should watch the downfall of America alone.
Yeah. It was.
Even though like you're halfway around the world and I'm in the middle of it, and I'm comforting you on the fact that my country's on fire right now.
Yeah, it's goddamn. I remember that
I
election
mean,
night.
you got at least a few more years before like Poland gets dragged into something.
If we're lucky, you know, well, maybe under Donald. I was so angry at the time. I don't know. I was on the verge of tears, to be honest, more than angry. God damn, what an election. Okay, let's continue. Let's not fall into depression.
I have crippling
Have the feeling-
But it was something else, like to see the whole thing unravel in real time during the election. Like to tracking which state voted how, etc. Right? How
I
the
remember
map.
I was refreshing the map, and then like the minute it had
that's
red, I'm like,
me.
well, fuck.
Yeah, that was Jesus Christ. It's like they're just looking up in real time what the state's situations. God damn. Anya says, I'm worried about Confederacja rising. Which one? You have two Confederacjas. You had two Confederacy parties in Poland. One less radical and one which is the lunatic one. Supreme Court recently tore up the Voter Rights Act for Black. Oh yeah, yeah. I probably
yeah.
should. I'm not sure if I'm gonna cover all that tonight. Maybe I'm gonna have to cover political things tomorrow.
Oh, that's a fun one.
But definitely we're gonna be talking about that, yeah.
I mean, what happened to the politics channel? Isn't this supposed to be like more slop?
No, I kind of decided that I will stream everything here. I will just change the layout for politics, and I will upload segments that are political to that other channel and slap here.
Okay, that works.
Because it's kind of inconvenient
That
to
makes
switch channels for streaming.
Yeah, just basically turn it into a clips channel. That probably will work better.
Yeah, I'm gonna stream everything on this channel and just throw all the political clips segments to that other channel. I think that works. The gerrymandering is gonna be so bad now. This might be the last time Dems get the house. I mean, what do you mean the gerrymandering is gonna be so bad? It already is. There's been gerrymandering wars going on within the last few days as we speak. What do you mean? What do you mean it's gonna be so bad?
That's what I'm saying. I can't wait for the Democrats to fumble the last election we'll ever have.
Isn't Obama openly calling for the gerrymandering wars, or the Democrats to engage in the gerrymandering wars?
Yeah, but it's not okay when they do it, apparently. That's what we've established in Virginia.
God, oh man,
See,
the United
when
States
they
is
have-
turning into such a mess. I mean, like, goddamn.
that one party being worse than the other is an insufficient
Ozoshalek says, but you've got to learn from the lesson, John, courtesy of Ken. God.
reason to vote for the lesser of two evils when there is enormous latitude for the better party to simply stop being evil. And that the big trick of liberalism is convincing folks that you have to be at least a little bit evil in order to win, even when the opposite is true. Even when supporting Medicare for all makes you more electable, even when supporting Palestinian rights makes you more electable. Democrats are making choices not, in fact, based on electability, but based on what their corporate donor base wants them to do. And if we ever want both parties to stop slipping more and more in that direction, and for there to be any red...
I just found a new place that I might visit in Kyiv, a kitchen that produces food for soldiers. I might actually visit them and talk to them.
There you go. You get more interviews for the other channel you've abandoned.
I've not abandoned. It's not quick to make. Jesus Christ. You're being mean. You're being a bully. I don't know what I've done to you. Okay, let's continue
You
watching.
make me play a Resident Evil 6 with you. That's what.
It's a good game.
I'm just salty because I have to go back and play that game all over again too when I finish RE5 with my friend.
Listen, the fact is that Fake Carl Parker told me that his two favorite Resident Evils are 5 and 6, okay? Got him. Socialix, wait, is Contrapoints coming around to the left? That slipped under my radar. Maybe. We'll see. That would be good.
Red lines in the sand, even over something as cataclysmic as a genocide. Somebody has to say, you have to earn my vote at some point in this.
I mean, that's true. I agree with this. That's why Track Ukraine does what it does, right? You have to earn our votes. And by our, I mean Americans' votes, because I cannot vote in the US. By having better policy on Ukraine.
I thought we were supposed to vote blue no matter who.
No, you vote blue when it's good on Ukraine. There you go.
So I would turn your question to me back around to you. On what timeline, at what point is there ever going to be a litmus test among liberal Democratic voters that says this is a kind of evil that I will not succumb to, that I will not support with my vote?
I mean, I see the place to litigate that isn't a primary, and I understand the frustration with not having a primary in 2024. But that is the way this ought to work, and the way I expect it to work in 2028. But I think
Do
that
you? You think we're going to have a fair
Yeah.
primary in 2028?
I think so.
A person that's gonna be good on Ukraine. I wonder if I'm still gonna be here in 2028. That's a depressing thought, isn't it, Dr. Jones? I'm gonna be here in 2028, hiding from drones, because Trump fucked us all up.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, hold on. Brianna was anti. Oh, Brianna Joy. Brianna Joy Great was anti-Ukraine, huh? That's right, she was. And rolled her eyes at the abduction of Ukrainian children. I actually forgot about that. Jesus Christ Almighty. Yeah, you don't have much respect from me if you roll your eyes at the abduction of Ukrainian children. To be honest with you, especially considering that it's one of my main avenues of one of my main topics of reporting, right?
I mean, so I guess I don't. I'm not as. Again, I think I'm not as impressed as you are by the claim of rigging, which I feel like is a somewhat exaggerated claim for a institutionally backed candidate having a
Brianna Joy Gray's
advantage.
whole shtick was she basically like picked up like all of the disillusioned Bernier busters essentially.
Also, she's transphobic. At least she's not being transphobic to Contrapoints in this discussion. That's good. That is good, at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, she would more applauding she hasn't brought up Forced to Vote yet. I know that's taken a lot of effort on her part.
Also consider going to lucyhaza.org/live and donating and or subscribing. That is always a choice that you can make, isn't that right, Dr. John?
Yeah.
Especially since we're still in air siren alarm mode. We're still not safe.
Donate to Lucy for free V-Bucks, everybody.
Yeah, so that I can do things like eat food. Also, Fido's running out of food. So if anybody has mercy on Fido, then consider donating so that I can. My brother has been texting me saying that Fido will run out of food in 3 days or something, and that I have to send him more money for Fido's food.
In the arms of an angel.
So consider helping me out by sending me some Fido cash. Thank you. Okay, let's continue.
For as little as $5, YouTube. Support your local streamers, Fido.
Yeah, I can show him on screen for a second. Is that okay? If I show him for a second? That's
Yeah, you gotta get the sympathy.
That's the dog that he's gonna run out of food in 3 days. This is him.
Look at him. Look at him.
Okay.
Everybody look.
He's a big
Look at
dog.
this. He's starving, everybody.
Oh, Barry!
Thank you for the $20, Maya Mayor. Thank you. Food for puppy. Thank you. And it's actually true. My brother has texted me saying, I underestimated how much Fido eats and I need more money. That is an actual DM that I got from my brother today.
Fido's is depressive eating because you're not there to love him.
It's true. I'm not really hate watching Contrapoints. I'm just watching the debate. I've not actually been hate. I don't hate on people. I hate on arguments. If Contrapoints is going to say something that I disagree with, then I'm gonna point it out.
Oh, Barry!
Thank you for the
No, we're hate
$10,
watching
Glitch
Brad.
Pasta. How dare your brother use Fido for money? I mean, he's going to buy the food, so.
I mean, we're hate watching Brianna Joy
No,
Gray,
I'm
not
not. I'm not
Contrapoints.
really hate watching. If anything, apparently, Joy Gray is worse because she's
You're disappointed watching.
I'm disappointment watching. One of the people here in this debate has a history of being anti-Ukraine, and it's not Contrapoints.
That we know of.
No, I actually don't think that Contrapoints would have bad takes on Ukraine. My gut tells me so. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I genuinely think that probably she does not have a bad thing on Ukraine. Why do you think she'd have a bad thing on Ukraine?
Who knows at this point?
I like Contrapoints. Yeah, she's done some good essays, but she has had some really strange TikTok, Twitter takes.
I
TikTok.
don't know
takes.
why she's on Twitter.
Sorry.
She deletes like 70% of the shit she posts.
Yeah, but yeah, I do feel like
At that point, just use it just to announce to everybody you made your like yearly video essay, and that's it. You don't have to post your opinions.
I do.
And then the nanosecond somebody jumps into the replies to slightly disagree with you, you have to burn it all down.
I do feel like the hatred is sort of blown out of proportion, though. Don't you think?
Well, probably.
Like it's not like she's out
high
there.
profile trans person.
It's not like
Yeah.
she's out there advocating for I don't know, God knows what horrible things.
Exactly, Polyphonica.
I mean,
He's been stewing the Twitter replies for too long.
listen, I still have my big.
And at the same time, too, she's basically building her own escape hatch.
I still have my big conscription thing. This has happened. Oh gosh. Anya says she made good videos and then she kind of became a spiteful Twitter person. Just wish she just stayed off social media and just stuck to her videos. What have you missed? You've missed me watching Blair White talking to Destiny. And now I'm watching this with Dr. Johns. You've
For some
also
reason.
missed me do a short promo for a documentary about lead poisoning in American households and a short promo for Track Ukraine, an organization. So that's all you've missed.
I think that I also feel like there's some tension between. So you're saying that you don't think that third-party voters or abstaining progressives are the reason why Kamala Harris lost. So in what sense?
Also, I wonder if the list being on Contrapoints' part is because of actual lisping or because of microphone. Fortunately, I heard too much from Blair White. What do you think, Dr. Jones?
About what?
Do I have a video essay of hers that spoke to me of Contrapoints? I think one of the earlier ones. I've only seen the early ones.
I don't think I've actually seen a full Contrapoints video.
There was one about God. I'm blanking out, but there was one about fear mongering or something.
I mean, she made like a whole video, like taking down J.K. Rowling, and then spent like the last year on Twitter trying to launder her image again.
I think the J.K. Rowling one was
And that-
pretty good.
And then I think that same J.K. Rowling one had like a whole thing where she was vague posting about fucking Vosh for some reason. It like derailed the video in like the last like 20 minutes of it.
Wow.
Because it was about the whole. You know, I'm not even gonna get into that stupid bullshit. There's a whole lot bigger things you can criticize Vosh on besides just telling J.K. Rowling, telling J.K. Rowling she's a bitch.
The hunger makes sense. Yeah, it's J.K. Rowling is a whole other topic that we could get into. All right, let's continue.
Is that in Gaza the issue? Because again, it's like if you look at the map, it looks.
Why do you think that Contrapoints is not really used to talking to people live, if that makes sense? Does that make sense? Like it's different to have a pre-made content, pre-made videos, and it's different to speak to people live and to formulate your arguments live, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, you should have at least the bare minimum of be able to defend your ideas on the spot.
Yeah, but it's not sometimes in your head you think, oh yeah, I'll do great. I'll just say it how I mean it and it'll go well. And then when the time comes, you get nervous, you stumble on your words, You forget
And
what
then
you
you
wanted to
lose track how
say.
it's
Right.
in your like
Like
hour-long
it's
video
not
essay.
always that simple. Sometimes you feel pressure, you get nervous. It's not always as smooth as, as you imagine it in your mind that it was gonna go. You can't really blame people for it, right?
I mean, what I mean is like there's a difference between just or like if someone puts you on the spot and live, and then basically you have to you retract everything you said in your hour-long video essay. Then what's the fucking point in listening to any of your opinions?
I mean, to steal, man, to defend. Again, you can get nervous. You can just kind of stumble. You can retract, but you can just kind of feel pressure to do it. And in the moment, you blanking out, if that makes sense. Does it make sense?
Probably.
Like, we're human. We can be a bit lenient. Not everybody's a smooth operator like Lucy Haza, right?
True.
Trans Anya says her expertise is filmmaking, less so being a live streamer. Yeah, I think so. I think she did a few streams with Riley Grace Rochon back in the day, 2020 or 2019. Polyphonica says she kind of comes across as not prepared.
Oh yeah, I remember
Sorry?
that. I just remember, the Riley Grace were Contras just sitting there awkwardly, like thinking, like philosophy tubes, like in fucking Star Wars, and I'm being interviewed by the fucking foot fetish lady.
Wait, wasn't
Contra-
Contrapoints interview a recent one?
That was a few years ago.
Like, I'm talking
That
about
was when,
2000.
GR was trying to make a comeback.
Like, I'm talking about 2019, 20, like before any of that stuff happened, before the Demon Mama thing, before before the what's its name? What was the person that RGR debated? Who was that?
Yeah. Doe.
Doe, yeah, Doe. Before the Doe thing, before the Vosh thing, before the foot thing. I'm talking about ContraPoint streams with her before all the silly controversies. Polyphonica says, I don't know. I think she could have anticipated some of the questions maybe, but I get her not being equipped for one of the on-the-spot stuff. So much stuff has happened in this community in the last half decade. It's kind of crazy. That was
That's
2018.
true.
Yeah,
So,
but I do kind of remember them streaming together. Riley Grace Rochon and ContraPoints at some point, and before, definitely, I think my father was still alive then. It must have been 2020 at least.
And if you look at how many votes Jill Stein got, less than 1%, versus the significant electoral college and popular vote victory of Donald Trump, it looks too
I think they did some math of it. Even if you added in all the Jill Stein voters, Kamala still would have lost, like, epically.
There were multiple factors. Like there's
I'm saying, like, the Jill Stein didn't do shit to, like, split the vote or anything. Like, it was inconsequential. Kamala still lost even if all the Jill Stein voters went to her.
It's a messy election.
It looks like voters shifted to the right, in other words. And so,
Why do you say that?
Well, because
on what?
Because Kamala Harris didn't lose to a huge amount of voters turning third party. She lost to people turning to Donald Trump.
And people staying home. So take the Muslim vote, for example.
Okay.
I think about 50% of Muslim Americans voted Republican and the other half voted Green. Yes. Because of Gaza.
Yes.
Right? So, you can sit here and have a debate about the wisdom of voting for Donald Trump when he was going to be worse. But when I say it's not on the voters, it's because there is enormous latitude for Kamala Harris to simply say, you know what, there's a genocide, you're right. Benjamin Netanyahu is unpopular. His government is unpopular even within Israel. I stand with, I will not support sending weapons and arms to Israel.
Sorry?
To ask for a ceasefire.
I don't know.
It
50%
was literally
of Muslim voters voted.
They couldn't even do the bare minimum.
I mean, we can just Google it.
Yeah, like they couldn't even bother. It's like just saying, starting a ceasefire. And I was like, oh, Israel has the right to defend itself, no matter what.
In the 2024 United States presidential election, between 12% and 53% of vote. That's a pretty big discrepancy between 12 and 53% voter cast their ballots on third-party candidates, depending on specific survey. A sharp historic surge, largely driven by dissatisfaction with the major parties' policies regarding the war in Gaza. Gaza was a big thing.
ceasefire
Lucy,
now.
an entire town in Utah just probably lost her drinking water thanks to that.
And she could have won,
I mean,
right? So
before that-
why
seriously,
not? If the
Utah's
before
probably
onus,
about to lose electricity because of that data center.
You know, it is what it is. Okay.
to be true, doesn't it have to be the case that she lost the election because of protest voters or abstainers, as opposed to people
yeah,
towards the
what
right?
I'm trying to argue is that one, Jill Stein voters, as you point out, are not the one.
I bet the air defense is working well against drones, but I will admit that I cannot hear anything from here.
We have the minion squad defending you, as we learned. The VR minions defending with shotgun drones.
Wait, what do you mean hypocrite? What am I a hypocrite on? What do you mean, Maya Mayor? She just froze a family for rural Alaska because of that prompt. Listen, what can I say? Except you're welcome.
Ones. But
Yeah.
people who chose to stay home or vote for Trump, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, definitionally you lose because some quantity of voters that voted for your team before either stayed home or went to the other side. And my argument is that those voters could easily have
Also, Ukraine is very popular among American people, isn't it, Dr. Jones?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so being pro-Ukraine would be a good move, but it didn't I don't know.
been kept in the pen. Now, to be clear, my personal politics are I don't think they should go back to the Democratic Party. I don't think anybody should go back to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But if I'm a Democratic strategist, if I'm Kamala Harris, I don't get to argue that I was entitled to those votes that I easily could have gotten by simply changing my position to a more populist
Thank you, Income.
one. It's almost akin to saying, if I'm Kamala Harris and I come out on stage and decide to say, I hate everybody who lives west of the Mississippi. If you live west of the Mississippi, I do not want you to vote for me. If you live west of the Mississippi, we're going to bomb you and kill you. And then election day comes and she's like, gosh, man, it's really unfair that I lost the election because I antagonized everybody west of the Mississippi. Like, it was the electable position for her to take, and she declined to take it. So at what point do we hold politicians accountable?
She couldn't even bother to be like, yeah, I'm just going to ask for at least a ceasefire. No, she was like, no, like, Israel has the right to defend itself against all those school children and journalists.
Yeah, that was a mess. It was definitely a messy situation.
For choosing to throw an election rather than to modify America's relationship with the genocidal country.
So I think there's two questions here, right? Like, one is, whose fault is it that she lost? Kind of a descriptive question. And then the other is, should we have advocated that she lose? A more of a normative question. So like the descriptive question, like, I think the blame for why an election turns out the way it does is always going to be widely distributed, right? And like, of course, some fault is on Biden and on Kamala Harris. Like, I do think that, like, yeah, I would agree with the criticism that the Biden administration failed to they did not have the agility to respond to the situation in Gaza by breaking from, like, you know, decades of bipartisan consensus that Israel's our closest ally and blah 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 blah, right? Like, they did not have the agility to read the situation and change. Like, I agree with that.
What do you mean they didn't have the agility?
I mean that they acted in a way that was
They should have done it, but didn't do it. That's basically what.
consistent with how American foreign policy has been for decades, as opposed to recognizing that this situation demanded a kind of break from that.
Well, yes and no, right? Because there are these.
Yeah.
I broadly know what you're saying, and I'm not trying to be so nitpicky, but there are these.
Consider a ceasefire.
Sorry.
I said they couldn't even. I was saying they can't even do the bare minimum. I've been just saying, maybe there should be a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Or, no, it was, Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants, essentially.
That was not good. The whole rhetoric around
And then there was the whole
Israel
thing
is
too about how, like, they were saying that Joe Biden was, like, working on trying to get a ceasefire, but then it came out that no, like, they didn't even called Netanyahu to stop.
And then there was the Democratic thing with Kamala when there were Palestinian representatives that wanted to speak on stage or something, and they were not let on, right? Remember that?
I think I vaguely remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
They
That
were
was
shutting down, like,
considered.
anybody That
That was
like
considered a big.
pro-Palestine.
That was considered a big faux pas that no Palestinians were let on stage to talk about the issue.
Moments where American presidents, Reagan famously, have picked up the phone and said, "Israel, you have to stop bombing Lebanon. This is a bridge
Yeah.
too far," and they stop. Right? They understand that their
again, I
ability to
agree with
exist
that.
is contingent on U.S. aid. Right? Okay.
Yeah,
So we
I
do
agree.
have the
I
power
agree
to
that
control.
like it is a failure of the Biden administration. They should have been far more aggressive in conditioning aid. I agree.
Yeah.
Or conditioning it at
also-
all. To be clear, they didn't condition. They violated American law in not conditioning aid at all to Israel.
But there, I mean, well, okay, I won't get into saying why I think Trump is still worse, which I do think he is. But I think that the second question is still like, should people have?
I think we all can agree that Trump is the worst, right? I don't think that's a debate that's happening anywhere, right?
Because you're not just saying that it's the Kamala Harris's fault that she lost. You're also saying that you think that she should have lost. You want her to have lost, and you advocated.
That's a separate argument. That I was trying to be transparent about my own policy.
Okay, that's wanting to for Kamala Harris to lose that's just stupid. Okay, can I agree that that's stupid? Wanting Kamala Harris to lose against Trump?
Yeah, like, don't worry, guys. I'll vote for Trump. That will show those Democrats about not.
Like, come on, that's just stupid.
I mean, if someone actually did that, do not take that person seriously ever on anything ever again.
Yeah, it's just I cannot treat this kind of attitude seriously. Oh, I want Kamala Harris to lose. Well, thanks.
You treat those people like a tanky or a commie boo.
Yeah, Gatorade. I heard Trump just raised a golden statue of himself somewhere and had people pray over it and concentrate. Of course.
And he painted the reflecting pool in DC blue, and now everybody's just waiting for that thing just to turn like gangrene.
Ah, God, this is where we are now, aren't we?
This
is our new reality that we have to live with.
The whole statue thing's been funny too, because everybody's like, "Yo, isn't there like a fucking like part in the Bible that says you're not supposed to do this?" There's like a whole thing.
Yeah, because Trump is such a religious man, right?
Exactly. You gotta love those evangelicals.
Trump is such a God-loving guy.
Politics, which I recognize are more radical than most. So I don't really
God,
want to. I mean, we can, but it's like a bit of a side quest. It's like me litigating.
Sorry, can you repeat?
I said, please God, like if anything, like I'll go back to church if you have the Pope excommunicate JD Vance live on television. Please. I swear to I won't wait until I get cancer to come back to church.
I think there's a tweet that I've got somewhere about this that compares the Trump statue to some other statue. Which one was it?
It didn't like them, the boys.
Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein. That's the one. There you go.
Trump's not gonna pull out like the fucking like solid gold like Luger.
I got the tweet right here. I'm gonna show it. Because they are remarkably similar, actually, unironically. From dictator to leader. Can you see it on screen? Saddam Hussein, Baghdad, Iraq, 2002. Donald Trump, West Palm Beach, Florida, 2020. What the hell? Come on, you gotta admit that the similarity is pretty uncanny, right? Don't you think?
I mean, at least Saddam was, had enough class not to make it gold.
But fuck me, the identical pose. Oh.
I mean, I was gonna say is the little bit I know about Saddam Hussein, all of it's just hilarious.
Saying that like I'm anti-circumcision, nobody really cares. Like it's not really the point.
Sorry.
Bullshit. I said we've had our fun. Now we have to go back to this.
True.
Of this.
Well, I don't think it's a side quest at all. Like I think like advocating to abstain or to vote third party. That to me is the issue.
Well, no, because there's a difference between me, who has more of a radical or has a much more pessimistic.
I think it's very much okay to leverage your power to push candidates in a certain directions.
That's the whole point of.
Yeah, and let them know that if they don't do it, then you will just vote for someone else. That's
how
do it.
Fucking democracy is supposed to work.
Yeah.
belief about the Democratic Party and its ability to be saved, and who frankly thinks we should just get to it and focus the bulk of our efforts towards starting something, growing the Green Party or PSL or whatever third party we as a community want to invest in. And what I think is the more accessible argument that I think liberals need to engage with, which is, do you want the Democratic Party to represent your interests? Do you want it to be a populist in the meaning of a kind of a majoritarian populist party that is therefore more electable because it is advancing popular policy items, right? That include not supporting endless wars, including not supporting genocide, include supporting Medicare for all, et cetera. And if you as a regular, mostly normie Democrat who supports those things, like 88% of Democrats who support Medicare for all, I think it's absolutely your obligation to say that I'm not going to give you my vote. It makes no sense when 88% of Democrats and almost half of Republicans support Medicare for all, for you to be putting up even a single candidate in a presidential cycle who does not support Medicare for all. But that's exactly what we get every time. And it's an independent like Bernie who'll come along and be the one guy in the room who's willing to advocate for the obviously popular and electable thing.
Like
and if we're
Obamacare
having an
was supposed
electability
to be
conversation
Medicare for
fundamentally,
all,
Sorry, can you repeat?
I was saying Obamacare was supposed to be like Medicare for all, essentially, like on paper. But by the time it actually got into the thing, it was stripped of like everything, well, value, just so they could fucking pass it. Like the original plan for Obamacare was basically like an almost like Medicare for a buy-in Medicare for all situation, but like they had to strip out like all the good parts of it, and then just basically made a watered down.
Yeah.
Wherever the fuck we got, well, it doesn't matter now because it's basically dead, isn't it?
Oh, it is what it is. Not true, Jones. It was more of a public option. See, you're not right, Dr. Jones. Closer to French model.
And a how to beat Trump conversation fundamentally, or JD Vance or Tucker Carlson.
Now.
Sorry?
I said anything's better than what we have now. I'm just gonna say I have United, and I am fully aware why that guy got shot. I'm a card carrying United Health member, so I can definitely.
Oh, you're a customer of that company?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
You know, I got a fucking letter for them from when I got my wisdom teeth pulled because I went full sedation instead of local because I'm like, I did local anesthesia for my last 2 wisdom teeth, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not doing the blindfold blitzkrieg method again, knock me the fuck out. And then I get a letter saying, yeah, we're not covering any of that because did you really need to be sedated for that?
Yes, but if you got a doctor's notes that would say that yes, you needed it.
I haven't been to a doctor in 7 years.
I mean, considering your healthful situation in the United States, no wonder.
I haven't been to a doctor since basically I lost my insurance from my parents. Because, like, I think, like, I'm basically paying out of pocket for my dentist because my dentist is out of network. But I'm like, I've been going to this lady for 10 years. I'm not changing now.
Yeah.
Because the nearest dentist is, like, 3 hours away that's in network.
Right.
Whoever it is that comes down the transom. Then why wouldn't you enthusiastically be saying, oh my gosh, yes, we have to push these people into the electable position?
I still feel that it's like a bit evasive that you're trying to. Well, so you're arguing that we ought to, the blame for Kamala Harris losing ought to be on Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but you're also
and the Democratic Party broadly.
And the Democratic Party, but you also do not support that people vote for them. So it's like. It seems
well, let me be clear. Let me be clear.
You're saying it's their fault that they lost, but you also wanted them to lose.
I see the disconnect. Yeah. My belief that we should be banned in the Democratic Party altogether.
And yes, fun fact, Lucy, I was diagnosed with a rare 1 out of a billion lung disease, and insurance called for a pre-existing condition and would let me die. We had to fight them so much. Damn, that is pretty insane.
My favorite stories were the United people were calling the surgeon out of surgery, telling her to cancel the surgery because they weren't going to cover it. And it's like she's on the table right now. Like I just made the first cut. What the fuck do you mean to stop? She'd like, what do you mean? You know, like I'm not supposed to remove the tumor in her boob.
Jesus Christ Almighty!
Yeah, and then they tried to sue that surgeon for making a call-out post about it.
I can't live on my own, in part because many people will take me to the emergency room when I don't have insurance. Oof, that is rough. The United States is rough. I was 12 years old at the time, says Anya.
becomes from my observation that pushing them doesn't work.
God, I have to
Okay.
pay like
So
I think
I look,
$500
if
for
people,
ER. Then I know it's like $100 for urgent care. If I want to be seen at an urgent care facility, oh, where's my thing? Fuck, where are you?
Kelsey
Uh,
informed us says it was watered down and they passed it with no Republican votes anyway because none of the Republicans voted for it. Hello,
no,
Kelsey
it's I have to
Informa.
pay. I have
Thank
to
you for
shell out
being
$250
on
to
Twitch.
be seen at an ER.
But yes, Kelsey Informa agrees with you on the topic of Obamacare.
tried to push them and it worked, then my priors would be invalidated and I'd have to be open to the idea of working within the party again, right? And I might have an evolution back to the center hypothetically. But the reason I personally, through my proximity to the Bernie campaign and following politics over the last 5 years and witnessing what Biden did with his trifecta for the first 2 years, his disinterest in shoring up the Supreme Court, packing the Supreme Court, doing any kind of real Supreme Court reform, even as the leaked memo that Roe was about to get overturned came out, all of that, the Build Back Better, bifurcation.
Also, I still have not been able to get back on HRT, just saying. I also have to get some money for that.
The abandonment of the $15 minimum wage, all of those things have led me to the conclusion that I happen to hold. But I also acknowledge that other people aren't there yet. And to get to where I am, they have to witness what I've seen. So I would love to see them try to push the party. I suspect that they will fail and that they will come around to my side. But I do think the obligation is, of course, to push the party. Yeah.
This is the sort of what I'm not following, is that you seem to be suggesting that liberals need to be pushing the Democrats left, although you think that is a futile project.
Yeah, I think that it.
I was gonna say, I think this is where they were mentioning about how we're just going off the rails. This Contra's like, what do you mean that we have to make politicians change their opinions and things?
Greater and says Lucy wasn't the issue, your doctor, more than the lack of money. It was both. If I didn't have a problem with money, then I would just go and pay to a different doctor for a visit and get the thing. But I wanted to contact this doctor because I didn't want to go for a paid visit to do it. Because I would DM him and he would be like, okay, here's prescription for your thing. But he has not been responding to me, so I have to get another visit to a blood test. I have to take it to a different doctor, pay, and then get my... So it was both. It's both the doctor and the lack of money.
You're almost an honorary American at this rate, Lucy.
Sorry?
Said you're almost an honorary American at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to become a better streamer, I guess. All right, let's continue.
Apparently you're making waves somewhere because somebody shouted you out. Apparently, I don't even know if they're still in chat now. I probably scared them off of my personality.
No, it's okay.
It's futile, then why should we do it?
Because it is a way to heighten the contradictions and cause people to have a consciousness about the Democratic Party and who they really are. And it's a consciousness that has started to happen under Bernie Sanders. And it really blossomed because of Gaza. Because so many people who weren't that political or maybe even were right-leaning and were anti-war in a right-leaning way saw what was very obvious, which was that supporting supporting Israel was a losing proposition, and that no amount of warning signs would convince the Democratic Party that they should drop this issue or even pretend to drop the issue in the short term in order to win an election, and that the party fundamentally cared more about Israel than it did about beating Donald Trump. And how can you ask voters to care more about beating Donald Trump than a party who only really uses Trump as a cudgel to advance its corporate and imperialist interests?
Oh no, this truly sounds like a president that's sent to Ukraine. I wonder if they talk about Ukraine at any point.
I guess it seems to me though that, like, again,
is there like a script that I can pull up of this?
There might be a transcript.
Is there a transcript
somewhere?
Of this I
don't know if they have it active for this.
Okay, let's see if there's any Ukraine. Oh, they don't mention Ukraine in this conversation at all.
And what the theory of change that you're suggesting is that presumably a fairly long-term project of bringing about the disintegration of the Democratic Party and the emergence of some kind of new left populist party. I mean, that's what you're suggesting, yeah?
100%. And just the same way as the Republican Party emerged because neither major American party was willing to acknowledge abolitionism as a movement. Right. Right. No one was willing to recognize the abolitionist movement. And so the Republicans emerged because there was half the country that was completely unseen within the political context.
But if that doesn't happen on a reasonable time frame, like if the Democratic Party does not disintegrate, then it seems that what you're advocating is, for us to essentially wind up with like a 50-year MAGA Reich, which
Well, no, to be clear, the Democrats at any point could choose to win. Right? The Democrats at
I don't think it's as simple as that. Do you think it's as simple as that? Is the Democrats just choosing not to win?
I mean, the Democrats hate holding power, so that's not surprising. Every fucking, I know everybody hates it, but it's true. It's the fucking ratchet effect. I think I was arguing with somebody in like,
But if that does,
Yeah.
what the fuck was it might have been Riverboat Jack's comments section or something about it, or President Sunday's like comments on somebody, because I don't remember what exactly it was, but I'm like, yeah. So I'm almost like, fuck, I wish I could remember it now, but I just remember, I'm like, just like, name me one fucking policy that Joe Biden undid that Donald Trump placed. Like, he didn't undo any of the tariffs or like any of like the other stuff Donald Trump did in his term. He just kept everything going. And this is basically what's going to fucking happen is if Democrats win somehow in 2028, they're just going to keep all the same shit going. Nothing's going to change, and then everybody's just going to run back to the Republicans.
doesn't happen on a reasonable time frame, like if the Democratic Party does not disintegrate, then it seems that what you're advocating is, for us to essentially wind up with like a 50-year MAGA Reich, which
Well, no, to be clear, the Democrats at any point could choose to win. Right? The Democrats at any point could choose to win. All they have to do is say, we're not going to support a genocide. Is that too much to ask?
I guess I'm not convinced that the Democrats will easily win if they simply say we're not going to support a genocide.
Why not?
Because
I'm looking at the poll now. It was 29%.
Donald Trump won perfectly well without making any such concession.
Au contraire, he said he supported a ceasefire. This is my point about how the right is willing to lie about it, and the Democrats won't even pretend to lie about it.
Wasn't Kamala Harris also at least nominally in favor of a ceasefire and a two-state solution?
No, she had to try. Well, the two-state solution is a whole other conversation. That is not really the demand.
Right. Glitchmaster says, the Democrats want to give a giant middle finger to their corporate donors and give meaningful wins for the working class on a New Deal level. Anya says Biden should have reinstated the Iran deal, ended the Title 42, and ended the long. Yeah, it's really interesting that he did not make an effort to reinstall the Iran deal.
At present. But she had tried out AOC at the DNC after precluding.
Yeah, sorry.
Or probably half a dozen other things I can't think of at the moment.
So people should like this stream.
Any Palestinians, pro-Democrat Palestinians, from speaking at the DNC to argue that Kamala Harris was tirelessly fighting for a ceasefire when subsequent biographies, like the Kamala Harris's 107 Days biography and this Alex Thompson, Jake Tapper book, acknowledge that at no point, the reporting is clear, at no point did Joe Biden consider a ceasefire. At no point. And that was a bald-faced lie. Right? Which is part of why there's so much frustration with the sort of AOC left. Because here's where my argument continues. That when you do get progressives elected, and I was extremely enthusiastic about AOC. I was there the night reporting on her victory primary that nobody expected her to win. I was there her first day in office when she did the Green New Deal sit-in. And I, very hopeful about what was going to happen with her and the other electeds that were progressives that were elected in the years after. But in truth, the party changes you rather than the other way around. And this dovetails, sorry, I want to give you a chance to respond, but this dovetails with another, I think, criticism that you make of the left, which is that we don't, what is it, famously, that you're famously quoted as saying, the left doesn't want power, the left wants to endlessly critique power. And this comes up in critiques of people like AOC and Zohran Mamdani once they get into office. But we can come to that. I want to give you a chance to respond. I've said a lot.
Well, I still don't understand why you think that, why does
Then you spend the next 6 years shitting on everything she did.
Donald Trump not have to do any of these things to get elected that you think that progressives would have to do?
Do what things?
Well, to, call for the end of Israel as a Jewish state or whatever, to...
By the way, I do think that should happen. That's me and my personal politics.
Yeah.
And I think there's a good reason for that, because the maintenance of a Jewish majority in the Arab world requires apartheid. It requires denying Palestinians the right to return. To create a democratic majority, you have to do exactly what Israel's been doing, which is genocide, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid. So that's my view. But to be clear, that is not what I think Kamala Harris had to do to win.
Okay, but so I guess I don't understand why, like, voters seem to have no trouble electing Donald Trump, this man who has an extremely pro-Israel position, more pro-Israel than the Democratic Party does. Like, why is he able to get elected without pivoting against Israel? Whereas, why is this a condition for the Democrats to succeed?
Because
That's
when
because
Joe
the
Biden was
Republicans don't care about Gaza and they just voted for Trump, and the Democratic voters cared enough about Gaza not to vote for Kamala Harris, would be my guess in this case, right?
she did mention about how why didn't Joe Biden need to bring up Israel when he was being elected, right? I didn't mishear that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because the whole thing was because Israel wasn't ramping up their Holocaust machine in Gaza at the time.
But
It was Gaza was out of sight, out of mind for basically most of the world
yeah,
until
but just
October 7th.
like the Republicans don't really care about Gaza, so
Yeah,
of course it would not be a deal breaker for them.
Republicans care about Israel in the way that because it's supposed to be part of fulfill their
Right.
their death cult
Right.
prophecy.
Yeah. So of course they're not gonna care, right? Of course they're not gonna care in the slightest.
Well,
Like,
yeah, go
I feel
ahead.
like what you're saying would make more sense if Jill Stein had gotten like 30% of the vote or something. I'd be like, well, okay, that's you have a point there. But like that's not what happened, right? It's voters are supporting a further right, more pro-Israel candidate. So it's a little
And
bit hard for me
protest,
to reconcile
okay,
with
so
Like I feel like Contrapoints is making a little bit of a mistake here, that there's this big blob of voters that either support this or that, but also voters are just divided into Democratic voters and Republican voters, right? And Republican
Basically.
voters don't care about Gaza in the same way that Democratic ones did, right? Even if Trump is worse on Gaza than Kamala Harris, Trump is not appealing to people that are pro-Gaza. Trump is appealing to his Republican base, which doesn't care, right?
The ones that do care for the wrong reasons.
Right. But,
with the idea that this is the
Sure.
reason why the Democrats can't get elected.
I think for one, it's to punish Joe Biden, under whom this genocide started and under whom to date most of the deaths have occurred and most of the infrastructural destruction in Gaza has occurred, right? So it cannot go ignored that while you could anticipate that Donald Trump was going to do more of the same, and should have anticipated that Donald Trump was going to do more of the same, that doesn't justify, in the eyes of many voters, including voters whose lives and families have been directly implicated by this genocide, voting for the guy who did it. So if I'm standing there, stabbing you, I don't mean to like conjure violence, but if I'm standing there with a can of gas having burned your house down, and I'm like, vote for me and the other guy is going to burn your house down twice. I mean, you can imagine that you as an individual aren't going to want to vote for me. I just burned your house down.
So I can understand the psychology of that when you're the person whose house is.
Sorry?
Like all Democratic messaging boils down to the Republicans are bad. They're going to do these bad things unless you vote for us. It's like, yeah, cool. Are you going to fix any of the stuff, the bad things they've done before? No, we're just gonna keep everything the way it was.
Yeah.
Look, I'm for sure. I was in a fucking Riverboat Jack's comment section about that, where I don't remember what the video was about, but I'm like, Democrats since 2016, the whole thing has been their entire messaging boils down to it's like, vote for us, they're gonna take your abortion rights. Better vote for us, they're taking your abortion rights. Come on, you gotta vote for us. They're taking your vote. Oh, sorry, they took your abortion rights. Like, okay, cool. If we give you power, are you gonna bring them back? They're gonna take your voting rights. They're gonna take your voting rights. Better vote for us. They're gonna take your voting rights. They're taking your voting rights right now. Better vote for us. Like, are you going to do anything to stop them? No.
being burned down. But I also sort of don't really see. So I don't understand how like Biden's stance on Israel is being effectively punished by electing someone who's even more pro-Israel.
Well, people are saying you can't win. You're not going to be allowed to win under these conditions. If you want to win an election,
So
Democratic Party,
you have to give people something positive to vote for.
you have to move not even to the left, to the center, to where the majority of the country is and the majority of the world is on Israel.
Exactly what you meant.
Because you understand, Natalie, that like in elections, there's a bunch of people who are always going to be Republican.
The whole thing about like U.S. politics has been like, the Republicans are always the hungry wolves at the gate, and the Democrats are the shitty wooden door holding them back. That's probably another good point too. Why they fucking lost the last election, because Kamala didn't have any. They just basically just keep reusing the fucking Hillary 2016 playbook. They just keep scratching out whoever's name it is, and then it's just Donald Trump's evil. Vote for us. It's like what's your plan to fix anything wrong with the country? Nothing. Just vote for us because the other guy's evil. He's gonna break everything. Like, okay, well, the next election, are you gonna fix anything that he broke? No, we're just gonna stop him from breaking more stuff.
Yeah, it's basically it.
There are a bunch of people always
It's like 5:30 almost, so we're gonna watch a bit, and then we're gonna finish the stream probably, right?
I'll get extra spicy on this. Really good Transforum said, like, this all. I'm just gonna say this all started back in 2008. When fucking Obama bailed out all the banks, but left all the normal people to basically default and drown in debt. That's where this whole thing started from. That's basically the catalyst of all. I'm just gonna say that. That's my personal opinion. It all happened back in 2008 when fucking everybody lost their homes, and the government basically bailed out all the people that were responsible for it.
Yeah, no,
and let everybody, all the normal folk, drown.
The 2008 financial crisis, I remember.
going to be Democrats, and they're fighting for this center
It's
group of swing voters.
There's a financial crisis going on? Oh, I hadn't noticed. This is basically my family.
Yes.
And anti-war sentiments, along with a lot of other sentiments.
Yeah.
So, let me stun lock for a bit. Just look at me, Lucy. I'm the streamer now. I'm the captain.
Okay, we continue the video.
Basically, that is a really fun. He's a really comedian I really like called Josh Johnson. He has a kind of a bit about this, about how like he was talking about like growing up, what it's like to grow up poor and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he kind of goes on. He does this thing where he tangents on like a separate story, but then brings that story's tangent back into the main point. So like he's talking about like growing up poor, and all that and life like that. And he talks about how like he was at a party with some of his friends and he got pushed into the pool, and they're walking home after the party and it starts raining, and then his friends are complaining about being all wet, and he's like, I'm already wet. And he's like, being poor in a recession is a lot like being like falling into a pool and then getting caught in a rainstorm. You don't actually notice the difference.
Also, if you're gonna derail, you better donate for Fido's food.
Okay.
Many of which, frankly, I don't align with, are preponderant among that group, right? And that was a real driving force in the electorate. Among the people that you needed to get to change, Gaza, anti-war, Trump has been cultivating a sort of anti-war, anti-interventionist personality for a really long time, right? One of the things he bragged about was being a president that started no new wars. Now you can sit here and you can argue with that,
Right.
But like that was something, that was a pitch that he...
But he did say
Right.
that, yes.
But that's a pitch that he
He
made.
did say that, even though he became the biggest warmonger. The biggest warmongering to cry and throw a fit over not getting a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, that no war president statement aged like the dead body in my floorboards.
Yeah, the Nobel Peace Prize warmonger president, just comedic.
Made. So this is my point. You say that Trump didn't have to do the things that I'm saying that Biden or Kamala Harris should have done. But he did. And it was a lie, but he did do those things. He presented, he listened to the base and he gave them the message that they want to hear. While
Twitch chat is active. Fancy Informa says, I don't understand how she could possibly need to have it explained to her that the two parties have different supporters. Yeah, I know. It's kind of strange. It's kind of strange. Yeah, it is kind of strange to me, this whole line of,
oh, Barry,
Thank you for the $20, Dr. Jones. Fido found
How-
fund. Thank
How
you.
many sunlights does that buy me?
At least one.
Fuck.
I do find it weird that that Contrapoint said, "Hey, Biden and Kamala Harris might have been bad on Gaza, but so was Trump, and that didn't hurt him." Well, yeah, that's because his voter base didn't care about that topic. It's strange that that needs to be explained, right?
I swear to God, all of this is just Contrapoint crashing out just because the one thing she wakes up every morning and then it realizes she's not philosophy YouTube and that pisses her the fuck off.
I'm pretty sure ContraPoints is far more popular than Philosophy Tube.
Philosophy Tube has like, I don't know how big, it's probably like 500,000 in Patreon. She has her own website. She's in fucking Star Wars and Game of Thrones. And Contra has a YouTube channel.
I guess Philosophy Tube did better networking IRL. I don't know.
Basically, yeah. Philosophy Tube already had like, I guess, the acting school to network with.
Right.
She became the big successful trans woman. Like, that's also like a closeted Zionist too.
Okay, let's watch some more. Interesting.
Isn't your
Kamala
position
was-
also that
Lichma says Philosophy Tube makes videos more frequently too. Contra uploads once a year if you're lucky. If you're lucky, huh? I upload a lot of videos. I have to
Yeah,
record. I've made all the animations for the mini essay. I just have to record voiceover, put it together, and you'll get your first Patreon history thing.
Hell yeah.
Yes. I've decided on a pretty innovative visual effect for it. Have I sent you any of it? Maybe I'll show you an example after stream. Okay, let's continue for a few more minutes.
the Democrats lied?
In what
similar
way?
ways? Well, in terms of like, I mean, you've suggested that the Democrats lied about wanting a ceasefire,
Yes.
or lied about
Yes.
conditioning aid.
Yeah, I do. I think they lied less effectively, and I think they lied more minimally. I think when you have one guy lying and
So they
saying, I'm
should
going to end the
but
war.
they should lie better.
Well, no, I think that they should tell the truth and cut ties with Israel. But if we're asking who's responsible, who had the power, who the onus was on to actually stop Trump, that clearly was not.
Anya says Philosophy Tube makes regular videos. Contra barely makes content anymore.
Me or any podcaster or any voter or anybody tweeting on Al Gore's internet, Elon Musk's internet. It
Yeah.
was the party.
Also, if you want good content, okay? If you want content that's best of all of them, then go watch that LED documentary. All right? Isn't that right, Dr. Jones?
Yeah. If you want the best content, you got to subscribe to Lucia Haze.
Yeah. Or go watch the LED documentary that I've linked today. Lucy, are you sleepy?
watch.
A little bit. It's 5:30 a.m., but it's okay. Let's watch some more.
Who had the and one last point I would make about this is
Sorry?
We're not even halfway through.
Oh, yeah. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. No
I
shot.
don't know if you want to skip in a hat or something, or
I'm sure you've been following what's going on with this DNC autopsy report. Have you? I should say,
Yes,
I'm sure
I
people have
Yes,
lives.
I have. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard that the prevailing theory, which may not be true, but the prevailing theory is that the reason they don't want to, at least the autopsy report, is that it shows exactly what the IMEU study and other studies have shown, which is that the number one issue for Biden 2020 voters that didn't want to vote for Kamala in 2024 and didn't vote for Kamala in 2024 was ending Israel's violence in Gaza at 29%, followed by the economy, 24%, Medicare and Social Security at 12%, immigration at 11%, healthcare at 10%, and on down the line. So
I
if
agree
they
that, yeah.
release that, the idea is, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
just to put a fine point on it. The idea is that if the Democratic Party acknowledges and releases that they knew that was the case, then suddenly the onus is very clear, right? Who has the responsibility for losing to Trump is very clear. And the contrast that I think is my mission as a podcaster and a political commentator to demonstrate who the Democratic Party really is and what their priorities really are becomes very obvious to everyone. And I think you do start to get a lot of defections from the party, or at least calls for an enormous overhaul of leadership, et cetera.
Well, so I want them to release the autopsy. I want them to do whatever it takes to get elected. If that means cutting off all aid to Israel, then they should do that. I mean, I think it probably, in reality, is likely wrapped up with a bunch of other issues, like the fact that voters are upset about inflation, or about like vague
Yeah, that was number
concerns
two.
about like maybe my child might encounter a transgender book in school, and the Democrats are supposed to do something
That
about
wasn't on the
question.
list, by the way. That isn't on this IMEU list at the very least. Nothing.
Well, I hope it's not,
Nothing
but,
cultural. Abortion
yeah.
policy was number 9, and at 9%, and I don't know was 5%. But nothing about transports, nothing about COVID. A lot of issues that I think folks thought were going to be determinative weren't, at least among these Biden 2020 to Harris 2024 voters.
But can you see how it's like a little bit difficult for me to take your criticisms of what you think the Democrats ought to do to get elected when you're simultaneously saying that people should not elect them? Like, your position is that
Why?
people should divest from the Democratic Party. So,
Yeah,
like, because it's not in your interest for the Democrats to get elected based on your positions, right?
I mean, to Steelman, the anti-Ukraine person, technically speaking, she could say there's my personal position on what should be done, and then there's my public position, and my public position that those people should be elected, but me personally, I think they shouldn't, right? Does that make sense? As a Steelman, Dr. Jones? Hello?
And what?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want them
Wait,
to
what
win.
do you mean?
Well, you don't want the
Well,
Democrats to win, right?
I think in an ideal world, given how hard it's going to be and how hard it already is for so many people, in an ideal world, I mean, I worked for Bernie for this reason. In an
Yes.
ideal world, a social democrat like Bernie Sanders gets elected. We get universal health care, a basic
I don't
social
like that the anti-Ukraine person looks stronger in the conversation. To be
Although you can still see, I think, Contra in like the background or something when they cut over.
democrat
So they
safety
kind of,
net,
like,
free
see Contra
education,
moving around
and
in
That is kind of funny.
the corner there.
That is kind of funny.
our little capitalist kingdom
Yeah,
gets to
we gotta-
tip along for another
Yeah,
100
enjoy guys
that
got
is very
flashbang you with
strange.
her face.
That is very strange editing, I will admit.
years and save a lot of people from immiseration. I think that's what I was working for, along with so many other people in 2020. But what I
But
learned
your
was
current
how
position,
unlikely that is. What I
Your-
learned from
yeah.
experience. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, your current position though is that people should divest from the Democratic Party. Like, isn't this sort of an energetic drain at minimum on the enthusiasm that it takes to be able to win elections?
How so?
Well, I mean, it seems that you're using your platform to encourage people to abstain or to vote third party or to sort of in general just give up on the Democrats. Doesn't that, like, my experience is that in 2024 it was very difficult to advocate for Kamala Harris in public with a leftist audience because of the extreme
Genocide.
push, the
Yeah.
genocide
Oh, I
allegations, yes,
agree
that you
to
would
this
then be accused of.
Sorry, what did you say?
No, I was gonna say someone was mentioning about like they don't know why Contra agreed to this because she woke up one day and decided she's not gonna be a fucking debate lord.
Which must
She's
have
been
said,
like e-begging. Yeah, she's been fucking on Twitter e-begging to debate fucking Hassan for some reason now.
Right.
Because like I guess she's trying to salvage what's left of her career now. 'Cause she's basically alienated like a good chunk of her audience.
interesting. Glitchmaster says, don't worry, Contra Dems have no problems draining energy from voters. Genocide allegations. Interesting.
Like,
You know, this all could have been avoided if Contra just went everybody wants to make me like a Gaza video, but like I don't think I'm the right kind of person to do that, and just left it there.
Okay, let's watch a few
Or
more
or just
minutes.
the bare minimum of saying, what's happening in Gaza is bad, but no,
Let's watch a few more minutes before I need to go to bed.
bless you.
I feel like I guess I don't see voting as like a symbolic expression of my like virtuous stance on any particular issue so much as I do like a consequentialist calculation about like what is
Me
the
too.
actual effect of this, and the
Me too.
actual effect of electing Donald Trump has been disastrous.
Yes, and the actual effect of voting blue no matter who means that we get more right-wing presidents every time, both on the Democratic side and on the Republican side. And the only way to curb that ratchet effect would be to say, hey, Democrats, you absolutely can get my vote. My vote is absolutely gettable. And it's not because I'm asking for some crazy demand that's going to cause you to lose 3 other votes somewhere else. It's only upside. I have a plan for you, Democrats. Here's how you win. You oppose the genocide, you call it a genocide, and you say you're going to stop funding the genocide and follow American law, the Leahy law, which prohibits me from funding these war crimes to begin with. And you can win. How can you argue against that?
Because people have been making this argument my entire life. I mean, people argue
What
about
argument?
Ralph Nader in year 2000. Like
What argument is that?
the argument that by voting third party, there's an opportunity to meaningfully shift the
No,
Democrats
but
to force
that
them
wasn't what I just said,
to
right?
move left.
That
Well, what
was
What
did
I
you
not-
just
say?
said is, hey, I'm a Democrat.
That was not the argument just now. The argument is to leverage pressure on Democratic politicians to make it have better stances for them to win over, to them to earn the vote.
I mean, like you always steal like what the President's Sunday plan was. You vote for them regardless, but you tell them you're not going to if they don't do X. Because if you tell them you're gonna vote for them regardless, they're not gonna bother pandering to any of your demands.
This is what I was advocating for Democrats. If you want to be me, great. But if you're a Democrat, my argument is to say, and this is what the uncommitted movement was saying, my vote is up on offer. I want to give you my vote. I want to stop Trump. I want to give you my vote. And all you have to do is do this thing, which is going to make you more popular and more electable. And the Democrats said, no, I would rather lose than incur the wrath of my AIPAC donors or whatever else is at the root of our entanglement with Israel as a country. Our military base that is the state of Israel.
But in order for this blackmail,
Like so politically toxic that they have to launder their money through other PAC organizations now.
Yeah.
message to be effective, doesn't it have to be the case that third party voters are the determining factor in swinging the election, which you just said that they are not?
Not third party voters. People who decline to vote for Kamala Harris are not third party voters.
Do the protest voters have the leverage to be taking the election hostage in this way?
Well, they quite obviously did, and that's why they don't want to release, arguably, the autopsy report, right? They quite obviously did. And if that becomes... Well, okay, sure. But what's not speculation is that we know that 29% of people who didn't vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, but who did vote for Biden in 2020, said that ending Israel's violence in Gaza was the reason, right? So if you're the Democrats and you have this option, a part of me wants to open one of these books and rifle through.
It doesn't really feel like a debate. Contrapoints does not really offer any pushback or argumentation.
Because I remember at some point in... I can't remember if it's Original Sin or on 107 Days. I think it's Original Sin. There was reporting, and there's been ample reporting at this point, 2 years out, that internally, Biden understood. They understood how much this issue was hurting them. And they chose to ignore it. In fact, they chose to double down on it. Right? And I don't understand, at some point, Natalie, at some point, I mean, is there anything that Democrats would do that you would say, if Donald Trump, if the 2016 version of Donald Trump were running against the 2024 Donald Trump on the Democratic ticket, would you say that we should vote for 2016 Donald Trump because his first term was better than his second term?
Okay, I mean, so I joke about how I would vote for Satan to stop Donald Trump. There probably is a line. I've yet not found it yet. Of what moral depth to which I would stoop to stop Donald Trump.
So what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so play that out for me. Everyone always asking me to play out my plan. Play out the consequences of vote blue no matter who, because you and others, I don't mean to put it all on you, but ask me what the timeline is. I got to this place because I started asking more centrist oriented people what the timeline is for Medicare for all. How long are we supposed to deal with the fact that 68,000 people die every year from a lack of health insurance?
Half your career, Brianna, was basically telling everybody they should have forced the vote 10 years ago and completely tanked political careers. She came up, basically her whole shtick was grifting to the Bernie or busters, essentially. To the disillusion to the people that were Bernie or bust, and basically sucking up all the that energy and becoming a black hole for all to go die, essentially.
What's the timeline on that? And I had people come to me who were Medicare for All activists in the state of California, who were Bernie's Medicare for All czar, and their plans were minimum 20-year time horizons, saying that, the argument that was made to me was Gavin Newsom was going to get Medicare for All in the state of California, that he was going to become president, and that he was then going to bring Medicare for All to the entire country. Gavin Newsom doesn't even support Medicare for All anymore, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the state of California, with its overwhelmingly Democratic legislature, has intentionally scuttled their CalCare program now multiple times, including just recently. So at a certain point, let me maybe ask it this way, Natalie. How much do you think that donor influence and corporate interests are determining the policies of the Democratic Party?
Well, they certainly have some effect. I think I maybe don't think they have quite the level of effect that you do, because yes, they have some effect, but they also, like, at the end of the day, do still need to get elected, right? So that I don't think there's an infinite like capacity for corporate influence. Like, there's a limit to how far you can push it where people will stop supporting
this
you.
is
I mean, I
kind of my
think- I
point,
also
that we
think
saw that limit with Gaza and they didn't care, right?
like Democrats have tried over the years to, like, I mean, Obama came fairly like with the Affordable Care Act, they came fairly close to getting not Medicare for all, but a single payer option.
Well,
It was
Natalie,
fairly
no,
close,
but they
being
did-
shot
but
down
they
by
did
Joe
it.
Lieberman.
Okay, but like, why is it, Natalie? We know how slim the Republicans' margins are right now, right?
Yeah.
And yet they managed to do everything in the world. Why is it that Barack Obama had a supermajority? When we say it was
Yeah.
scuttled by Joe Lieberman, we're saying that he was the 60th vote in a supermajority.
Yeah.
And why is it that it seems to be the case that Democrats are always 1 or 2 votes shy from doing the thing that 75% of the country wants them to do, but Republicans always manage to push through the thing that only 20% of the country wants them to
Bill
do?
of the week bullshit.
Yeah, it's. I wonder how Contrapoints will answer this question.
Just be going, home. What? Just how
Well,
it is,
do
you
you-
know.
Yeah.
Every
sorry.
time the Democrats try to, unfuck something, there's always 3 in a totally safe, seat that suddenly gonna swap sides and cross the party line to stop whatever marginally good thing that they could have implemented.
America doesn't deserve good things, I guess.
Think that, I mean, do you really think that, like, Nancy Pelosi, for example, didn't want single payer? Like, I think that she did.
Yes.
Like, I think that this
Nancy Pelosi
genuinely
I
was.
don't.
fucking single payer.
You don't think that she did?
I don't think
Nancy Pelosi does not want single payer. I'm pretty sure she mentioned somewhere that she would never let that happen.
Let's see. We're gonna watch just a few more minutes and then I'm gonna retire.
that Democratic leadership, Nancy Pelosi, whomever, I don't think that Democratic Party leadership wants single payer. Absolutely not.
I don't think that's
There's-
supported by Nancy Pelosi's actions in 2010.
How so?
I mean, we'd have to fact check this after the fact, but
Did
I seem to
Nancy
recall her
Pelosi
making
support-
a fairly strong effort to achieve this, and eventually needing to create a compromise option in order to get Joe Lieberman on board. But I think that, look, I mean, I do think that in the future, like, Donald Trump has proved that by acting in a sort of heavy-handed authoritarian fashion, it is possible to do a bunch of stuff that's not popular. Should the Democrats? Well, I mean, I do consider it a serious defect of the Obama administration that he was so, like, there was this mindset of, like, oh, we need to be bipartisan and we need to constantly reach across the aisle, and, like, yeah, I hate all of that. Obviously, I think a major lesson of the Obama administration was we do not go high. Don't do that. Like, and I think that I think Biden improved on that somewhat. There's
How so?
more room for still more improvement. Well, I think Biden, like, did a number of things that were not, would not have been doable if you needed Republican cooperation. But I think that,
Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be
yeah.
contrarian. I just want to know specifically what you're thinking about.
well, I'm thinking about like Medicaid expansion and infrastructure bill, and it was more aggressive in getting some of these things done than I think Obama was. But, like,
He was in the
I
infrastructure.
don't know. Like Republicans don't seek democratic cooperation in a lot of the crap they're pushing, right?
No, they try to jam everything through, and didn't they just fucking pass a bill at 2 a.m. like this week for some stupid bullshit?
The infrastructure bill example where he had the leverage comes right from having
Yeah.
the infrastructure projects that Republicans want, and because it was COVID and the country was shut down and everyone needed the country to get going for capitalism reasons, right? So we took all of that stuff that even Republicans wanted to vote for, bundled it with a bunch of stuff that were Democratic priorities because they were social spending priorities, and then broke those two things apart so that Republicans could get what they wanted without having to do all the Democratic. Like, that was the Build Back Better bifurcation dance that even AOC called out, right? Like, even
Yeah.
AOC, there was that whole rigmarole around how they were going to hold the line and that they weren't going to vote for the one package unless both packages. And then
So I
Predictably.
again, I agree with you that
Yeah.
that there's a lot of room for a Democratic administration to be even more aggressive, and I agree that they should.
So why don't they? Why aren't they? What's the because people like me are often accused as being not having
We're gonna listen to one that's point, and then we're gonna.
a material analysis of thinking that we're going to win because of vibes. I feel very strongly that I'm doing the opposite. That when you just love Mamdani and love AOC, that's the vibes. I liked what they stood for and what they said, and now that they're in office, it's about asking, analyzing, and as someone who is in the media, pressing them on whether or not they're using the leverage that they have at their disposal to maximize the follow through on their campaign commitments, right? It's not about me loving them. My job is not to love Mamdani as much as he seems like a fun hang. I have nothing personal against any of these people, but I have to raise questions, right? Why does Zohran Mamdani endorse Kathy Hochul prematurely when she hasn't released fundraising, the funding to him that he needs to advance his agenda? Why does he come out and dissuade a challenger to Hakeem Jeffries when Hakeem Jeffries is one of the most vocal Zionists in the entire country? The leader of the Democratic Party bungled Democratic Party redistricting in New York in a way that cost Democrats seats in the House, and also did not support Zohran Mamdani's campaign even after he won the primary. You know, why did he say that he would vote for Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House prematurely, ostensibly without getting any concessions? If he has gotten concessions, why won't he be more forthcoming about what he was able to get with his leverage so people like me would leave him alone? Right? These are questions I think it's incumbent on us to ask because we want him to be successful on his campaign promises, not just successful in a person who has a job as mayor who wants job stability. Right? I'm not invested in his job
once a politician
stability.
gets elected, they have to engage with the reality of their situation. They need to cooperate with other people to achieve things. Right?
Cooperate with who?
I don't think an elected politician cannot base all of their behavior around winning the recognition from people who are protest voters and probably didn't support them in the first place.
Did you? What did I? Can you steel man back to me what I wanted Zohran Mamdani to do with Kathy Hochul and why?
Granted, it's still one of the largest cities in America, but he's still just a fucking mayor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I can't. No.
Okay, so I want to be really clear about this. So I'll repeat it. I'm not just wanting him to run around saying I'm the biggest Marxist ever, beating his chest and saying free Palestine. That's not my argument. My argument is that he fought for free buses, free childcare, a number of policy priorities that were going to require funding from Albany, right, from the governor of the state. So when I raise concerns about him endorsing Kathy Hochul in her reelection bid during an election season, when there was her own lieutenant governor was challenging her, a lieutenant governor who came out and endorsed Zohran Mamdani early and who supported Zohran Mamdani's funding, when Kathy Hochul was saying she did not agree with his funding priorities, I see that as Zohran Mamdani prematurely giving up leverage for something that he says he wants, which is free buses. I'm with Zohran Mamdani. Let's get those free buses. But how are you going to get them when the governor of your state is saying that she doesn't believe in your policy agenda, and frankly also wouldn't even endorse you after you won your primary against an actual predator of Andrew Cuomo, right?
Yes.
So I feel like my ask is extremely pragmatic. How are you using your leverage to get money to do the thing that you say you want to do in New York?
I mean, that may. I don't know the details of this particular situation. That may be.
Yeah, of course he's gonna try to play nice. Like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, he hates you, so.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't you calling Kathy Hochul, Mr. Mamdani, why aren't you calling her a fucking bitch or something? It's like, yeah, because he still needs her to get the funding for the bullshit. So, what the fuck's he supposed to do if he calls her a bitch and pisses her off? Then what?
I feel like we're gonna end it here. There was
did that whole thing about how here's my budget proposal. Calls in your court now. Maybe I'll endorse you. To be governor again. He knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah. And with this nice sentiment, we're gonna end it here. Okay.